I was never meant to leave the Callisto mining ring. I spent my days crawling through access shafts and coolant tunnels, fixing systems no one noticed unless they failed. That was my whole life. Keep things running, stay invisible. So when the Terran delegation selected me as part of a peace exchange with the Valoran Directorate, I knew what it really meant. A peace offering sounds noble. Expendable leverage sounds honest. Lyr-Vaal rose from its planet like a blade driven into the sky. Black spires, glowing veins of alien light, architecture built to intimidate. The moment I was marched into the council chamber, I understood my purpose. I wasn't a guest. I was a message. The chamber was vast and silent, filled with towering figures whose skin shimmered with faint bioluminescence. Their eyes tracked me the way predators watch injured prey. I stood alone at the center, hands bound, heart hammering. One of them stepped forward, tall, sharp-featured, adorned in symbols of rank I didn't recognize. "This human has no strategic value," the noble said coldly. "Terminate the offering. Let Earth understand the cost of insult." A blade unfolded from his arm with a soft, mechanical whisper. I didn't beg. I didn't scream. I just thought, so this is how it ends. The blade stopped an inch from my throat. The air changed. Pressure, silence, fear rippling outward. Someone had stood. Enough. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the chamber like gravity snapping into place. High Queen Lyr-Vaal rose from her throne, light rippling beneath her dark armor, her gaze fixed on the executioner. "Remove your weapon," she said calmly, "or I will remove your arm." No one moved. Neither did I. But for the first time since leaving Callisto, I realized something terrifying and impossible. Someone here had decided I was worth stopping a blade for. Silence didn't fall over the council chamber after Lyr-Vaal spoke. It collapsed. Every member of the Directorate froze where they stood, as if the air itself had turned solid. The noble with the blade hesitated, his bioluminescent markings flickering in visible confusion. Weapons were not supposed to pause once deployed. Orders were not supposed to be questioned, especially not over a human. Especially not over me. I felt the blade retract, the faint hiss of alien machinery folding back into his arm. Only then did I realize I'd been holding my breath so long my vision had started to blur. "Your radiance," the noble said carefully, bowing just enough to show obedience without humility. This creature was delivered as a diplomatic concession. "Its status is irrelevant," Lyra interrupted. She stepped down from the elevated throne, each movement slow, deliberate. The chamber lights shifted as she moved, responding to her presence the way systems respond to a master command. I'd never seen power expressed so quietly, so completely. "He is mine," she said. The word echoed. "Mine." A ripple of shock ran through the chamber. I felt it even without understanding their culture yet. The way bodies stiffened, the way eyes widened, the way several counselors exchanged sharp, alarmed glances. "To claim ownership of a human," another voice said, incredulous. "Your radiance, this violates." "It violates nothing," Lyra replied. "The human was delivered to my court. He stands on my world. Until his purpose is fulfilled, he is under my protection." Her gaze flicked to me for half a second, just long enough for me to catch it. Not possession. Assessment. Calculation layered over something else I couldn't yet name. "If any of you attempt to harm what is mine," she continued, "you will answer directly to the throne." The words were simple. The threat behind them was not. The council backed down, not because they agreed, but because they remembered something they had tried very hard to forget. I didn't know what that was yet. I only knew I'd just become the most dangerous political object in the room. I was escorted out under armed guard, though the weapons now faced outward instead of at my spine. Whispers followed me through the halls, some furious, some afraid, some curious. That night, I was given quarters far beyond what a peace offering deserved. Private, secure, monitored. Property was protected. I didn't sleep. Over the following days, the reality of my situation sank in piece by piece. I was paraded through the capital not as a prisoner, but as a possession openly claimed by the High Queen herself. Wherever I went, I felt eyes on me, nobles measuring my worth, soldiers gauging my threat, servants watching with quiet disbelief. No one would tell me why she'd intervened. I assumed it was politics, some maneuver I was too small to understand. Then I learned the name people spoke when they thought I couldn't hear it. Lyra the Broken. The story came in fragments, passed between servants and junior officials who didn't realize how closely humans listened. Decades ago, long before my birth, Lyr-Vaal had ruled openly, fiercely. She had taken a bonded partner not chosen by the Directorate. He'd been brilliant, charismatic, popular among the outer systems. Too popular. Evidence of treason had surfaced overnight. Fabricated, everyone knew it now. He was executed within a cycle. Lyra protested. The council answered by taking her children, not killing them. Worse, they scattered them, hidden across distant systems under sealed identities beyond her reach. Then they rewrote the laws, buried royal authority under layers of procedure, and left her a throne stripped hollow. A queen in title, a figurehead in practice. For decades, she ruled exactly as they wished. Until me. That was the part that unsettled them. Not because I was special. I wasn't. I was a nobody from a mining ring no one cared about. That was why Earth had chosen me. Disposable. Replaceable. Safe to lose. And yet the High Queen of Lyr-Vaal had stood up in open council and claimed me as her property. Not her guest. Not her ally. Hers. I started to understand something else, too. They weren't angry because she'd saved a human. They were terrified because she'd acted without permission. For the first time in decades, Lyr-Vaal had reminded them that the throne still had teeth. And I was standing right in front of them, alive proof that she might be willing to use them again. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Let's move on. I didn't meet High Queen Lyr-Vaal again for 6 days. Not officially. I saw her from a distance, on elevated walkways, in procession halls, flanked by guards whose armor bore markings I later learned predated the Directorate itself. Wherever she went, the court followed at a careful distance, like prey tracking a predator they weren't sure was awake. I was escorted everywhere, watched constantly, but no one spoke to me unless required. To them, I was still an object, just one with a dangerous owner. The only ones who treated me like a person were the servants. And that's how everything changed. On my 7th night in Lyr-Vaal, I got lost. The palace was a living thing, corridors shifting, lights responding to presence, doors opening or sealing based on permissions I didn't understand. I took a wrong turn trying to find the sleeping quarters assigned to me and ended up in a maintenance sector beneath the eastern spires. Old infrastructure, forgotten systems, places built before efficiency had replaced care. That's where I found her. She was Valoran, older, her bioluminescent skin dimmed to a dull, uneven glow. A palace cleaner. She'd collapsed against a coolant conduit, breathing shallow, her light flickering like a failing circuit. I knelt beside her without thinking. Medical help was nowhere nearby. Her translator implant barely functioned. She wasn't dying dramatically, no blood, no violence. Just the slow, quiet failure of a body no one had prioritized. I stayed. I talked, even though I didn't know if she understood me. About Callisto. About broken pumps and recycled air. About how systems always fail at the edges first, where no one looks. I held her hand because it was shaking. She died an hour later. When security finally found me, I was still sitting there. I expected punishment. Interrogation. Maybe execution for leaving assigned routes. Instead, they pulled me away gently and said nothing. 2 days later, I was summoned to the Queen's private observatory. Lyra stood with her back to me, staring out at Lyr-Vaal's sky. The stars reflected off the curved glass, casting shifting light across her armorless form. She wasn't wearing ceremonial regalia now, just dark fabric, simple, functional. "You stayed," she said without turning. "Yes," I replied. "She was a cleaner," Lyra continued. "One of thousands. Her service record was unremarkable. No honors. No family listed." I swallowed. She deserved company. Lyra turned then. For the first time, I saw something raw on her face. Not anger. Not command. Grief. "They took my children like that," she said quietly. "In the night. No witnesses who mattered. No one stayed." The air between us felt heavy, charged. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why did you stay?" I didn't try to be noble. "Because I know what it's like to disappear without anyone noticing." Her gaze sharpened. "You were sent here because no one would miss you." "Yes." A long silence followed. Later, I learned what happened next. Forgotten surveillance nodes, antiquated systems the Directorate had stopped monitoring decades ago, had recorded everything. The moment, the stillness, the way I hadn't asked for reward or recognition. Naira had watched the footage alone. That was when she decided, not that I was useful, that I was dangerous. Because kindness without expectation is a threat to any system built on hierarchy and fear. At the next council session, she didn't ask. She announced, "I will bind myself to the human Ethan Carter." The room erupted. Cries of outrage, accusations of madness, demands for restraint. Naira raised her hand, and silence obeyed. "There exists a clause in the First Codex," she said calmly, "buried beneath ceremonial amendments. It grants the sovereign absolute freedom in matters of bond, provided the choice is made without coercion." The Directorate went pale, because they remembered. The clause was real, and so were the powers it reactivated, powers they had spent decades dismantling, burying, erasing from training records. Binding to a human wasn't scandalous because of biology. It was terrifying because it meant Naira was stepping outside their control. And this time, she wasn't bluffing. I didn't know that yet. I only knew that when her eyes found mine across the chamber, they weren't asking for permission. They were asking a question. And whatever answer I gave was going to change the galaxy. The announcement detonated through Lyr-Vaal like a seismic charge. I didn't hear the full fallout immediately. I was removed from the chamber the moment voices rose too high, escorted through sealed corridors by guards whose insignia I didn't recognize. Their armor was older than the palace systems. Angular, heavy, designed for war rather than ceremony. That alone should have warned me how serious this had become. For the next several days, I was kept under what they politely called enhanced protection. I wasn't confined, but every step I took was tracked, every room cleared before I entered, every meal scanned for toxins. The palace had shifted its posture around me, like a massive organism tensing its muscles. Something had been awakened. I learned what through fragments, snatches of overheard conversation, hurried briefings from nervous aides, data slates left unlocked for half a second too long. Naira's declaration hadn't just angered the Directorate. It had terrified them. The clause she cited wasn't merely symbolic. It was part of a pre-imperial legal framework, written back when Valoran queens were not administrators but conquerors. Binding freely, especially across species, triggered dormant authorities tied directly to the sovereign's neural signature. Command access the Directorate had spent generations severing. Control over military relics. Override authority over council decrees. And worst of all, legitimacy. Their entire system rested on the fiction that the throne ruled with their blessing. Naira had just reminded them that the throne existed before them. She summoned me privately on the 5th day. Her chambers were unlike anything else in the palace. No cold stone, no sharp angles. Soft light, flowing structures. It felt lived in. Human, almost. She stood near a projection table filled with shifting star maps, her posture rigid. "They're moving," she said without preamble. "Who?" "The Directorate. They've frozen trade corridors, recalled envoys, activated covert channels they haven't used since the secession wars." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Because of me. Because of what I represent," she corrected. "You are the catalyst." I took a breath. "Then stop this. Call it off. Say you reconsidered." She turned sharply, eyes flashing. "No." The word landed like a strike. "For 23 cycles," she continued, voice controlled but tight, "I have obeyed, compromised, survived. They executed my partner to remind me of my place. They scattered my children so I would never feel whole again." She stepped closer. "They thought sending you would be safe. A nobody, a disposable piece." Her lips curved into something cold and dangerous. "They were wrong." I hesitated. "You don't owe me this." "I don't," she agreed. "That's what makes it choice." The Directorate struck back that night. Not with weapons, with stories. Rumors flooded the capital that I was a spy, a genetic contaminant, a psychological weapon sent by Earth to destabilize the throne. Fabricated footage circulated showing me in meetings I'd never attended, touching systems I'd never seen. They weren't trying to convince the public. They were building justification. Naira countered immediately. She released partial archives, records of ancient law, proof of council overreach, fragments of classified history they'd kept buried. Each release was precise, surgical. The capital polarized overnight. Some hailed her as the true sovereign returned. Others whispered that she was unhinged, manipulated by alien influence. And through it all, I remained what I'd always been, the weak point. I realized that fully when Naira came to my quarters unannounced, long past midnight. She looked different, tired, stripped of the calm certainty she wore in public. "They won't move against me directly," she said quietly. "Not yet. Too visible." I understood before she finished. "They'll come for me." Yes. I expected fear. What I felt instead was clarity. Soon, she said. "And not to kill you quickly. They want you broken. Publicly, if possible." She looked at me then, not as a queen, not as a ruler, as a woman who had already lost everything once. "I thought it was a bluff," she said softly, "that if I threatened them with everything, they would retreat." I swallowed. "And now," her voice dropped to a whisper, heavy with truth, "if you die, Ethan, I will destroy civilization, not as revenge, as correction." The words should have frightened me. They didn't. I believed her, not because she was powerful, but because she was done being afraid. I stepped closer. "Then we make sure they don't get the chance." Her gaze searched my face, as if looking for hesitation. There was none. The gamble had already been made. Neither of us was backing out now. They came for me just before dawn. I didn't hear alarms. I didn't hear shouting. What woke me was the wrong kind of silence. The absence of sound where there should have been motion, the way a system goes quiet right before it catastrophically fails. I was sitting up in bed when the lights dimmed. Not off. Dimmed. Emergency spectrum. My door slid open without a sound. 5 figures stepped inside. They were Valorant, but stripped of everything that marked status or identity. Their bioluminescence was suppressed to near black, their armor matte and segmented, built to absorb both energy and light. Professional, quiet, efficient, assassins. One of them raised a weapon that hummed softly, vibrating the air in a way that made my teeth ache. "The Queen's indulgence ends tonight," the lead assassin said, his voice flat, almost bored. "You have caused instability." "I'm a mechanic," I said hoarsely. "Instability is above my pay grade." A pause, then a faint, humorless sound. "Your species uses humor to delay fear." Ineffective. I didn't run. There was nowhere to go. I raised my hand slowly. "If you're going to kill me, can I ask one question?" He tilted his head. "Ask. Why me?" I said. "If you want control back, kill her. Replace her." The assassin smiled, a thin, sharp expression that didn't reach his eyes. "She is the last legitimate sovereign. Kill her, and we fracture the Directorate's authority. Kill you," his smile widened, "and we break her. Permanently." Understanding hit me like decompression. This wasn't politics. This was punishment. The weapon began to glow. Then the room exploded into light. The blast threw me backward, slamming me into the wall hard enough to drive the air from my lungs. I hit the floor, vision swimming, ribs screaming in protest. The assassins went down, not dead, but convulsing, their bodies locking mid-motion as if their nervous systems had been hijacked. I forced my eyes open. Naira stood in the doorway, not in ceremonial robes, not in council regalia. She wore sealed pre-imperial war armor, heavy, angular, etched with glyphs that pulsed with raw, living light. The kind of armor I'd only seen in restricted archives, labeled obsolete because it was too closely tied to the throne. Her entire body blazed. Not metaphorically, literally. The bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin burned white hot, flooding the room with radiance so intense it hurt to look at her directly. Her voice carried harmonics I'd never heard before, layered tones that vibrated through bone and blood. "You made a critical error," she said to the lead assassin. He tried to move. Failed. "What are you?" he gasped, muscles spasming uncontrollably. Naira raised one armored hand. The air itself seemed to bend. "Neural sovereign override," she said calmly. A command forbidden to queens after the Directorate decided fear was safer than loyalty. The assassin screamed. Not from pain, not exactly, but from sensation. His bioluminescence flickered wildly, patterns collapsing into chaos as his nervous system fought commands it could not refuse. "My grandmother taught me this," Naira continued, almost conversational. "Before she was forced into ceremonial exile, before knowledge was stripped from the throne and handed to men who thought themselves wiser." She stepped closer. The scream intensified. I struggled to my feet, every breath sharp and burning. Naira. She didn't turn. They tried to kill you, she said. They thought I would remain in the ceremonial chambers, obedient. Mourning. Her hand tightened. The assassin's scream broke into something animal. Naira, I shouted. Her light flickered, just for a moment. If I let this continue, I said, forcing myself forward despite the pain, you become exactly what they're afraid of. She froze. They deserve it, she said quietly. Maybe, I said, but if you cross that line for me, you'll never come back from it. Silence. The light around her wavered, unstable. I reached her side slowly, deliberately, placing myself within reach. Close enough that one wrong movement could have ended me. That's not why I stayed, I said. Not to watch you burn yourself alive for my sake. Her hand trembled. You have not said this before, she whispered. I was afraid, I admitted. I lost someone once because I couldn't get to her in time. I told myself never again. Never care. Never risk. The assassin's screaming had faded into weak spasms. But then you saw me, I continued, a nobody, and decided I was worth the wrath of an empire. Naira turned to face me. The blazing light dimmed, shifting from white-hot fury to something warmer, unsteady, almost fragile. They will come again, she said. I know. They will not stop. I know. Her voice cracked. I cannot always protect you. I took her trembling hand in mine. Then let me protect you from this. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then her hand lowered. The neural command disengaged. The assassins collapsed, unconscious, alive. Naira sagged slightly, as if something ancient and terrible had loosened its grip on her. I caught her before she fell. And in that moment, surrounded by enemies and broken walls, I understood the truth of her words. She hadn't been bluffing. Not about any of it. The room smelled like scorched circuitry and ozone long after the assassins were taken away. They were dragged out alive, bound, dampened, stripped of every illusion of control. Naira ordered it done without ceremony, without looking at them again. Whatever part of her had wanted to finish them was gone now, sealed behind something quieter and far more dangerous. Control. The palace sealed itself in layers, bulkheads sliding into place, security fields humming awake, ancient subsystems activating with a weight that felt almost sentient. Lyr-Vaal knew something had changed. I could feel it in the walls, in the way the light adjusted to Naira's presence as she walked beside me. We didn't speak until we reached her private chambers. The doors closed. The silence inside was different from before, not tense, not political. Intimate. Fragile. Naira removed her war helm and set it aside with careful hands. Without the armor, without the light blazing beneath her skin, she looked tired. Older. Like someone who had been holding herself together through sheer will and had finally allowed the strain to show. I almost killed them, she said quietly. Yes. For a moment, I wanted to. I know. She turned to face me, eyes searching my face as if looking for judgment. Does that frighten you? I thought about it. About the white-hot light, the screaming, the absolute certainty in her voice when she'd raised her hand. No, I said finally. What frightens me is how easy it would be for you to justify it. Her breath hitched, just slightly. She sat down heavily on the edge of a low platform, shoulders slumping in a way I had never seen in public. Not the High Queen, not the symbol, just Naira. I told myself I was prepared, she said, that if they crossed the line again, I would not hesitate. She looked at her hands, flexing her fingers as if checking they still belonged to her. I thought it was a bluff, she said softly. A threat to keep them cautious. I sat beside her. But if you die, she continued, voice dropping to almost nothing, I will erase civilization itself. Not out of rage, out of certainty. A universe that allows this to happen again does not deserve to continue. The words settled between us like gravity. I didn't laugh. I didn't try to soften it. I believe you, I said. Her head snapped up, eyes widening slightly. You should be afraid. I am, I admitted. Just not of you. That seemed to hit harder than anything else I could have said. She closed her eyes, and for the first time since I'd known her, she shook. Not violently, not dramatically. Just a small, contained tremor, like a structure releasing stress after decades under load. I have spent 23 cycles choosing survival, she said. Choosing stability. Choosing restraint. I told myself it was wisdom. Her voice broke. It was fear. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. They took everything from me once, she whispered. And when I defied them tonight, when I felt that power answer me again, I wanted them to hurt. I wanted them to understand. I know that feeling, I said. She looked at me. My sister, I continued. There was an accident on Callisto. Hull breach. I was 3 decks away. By the time I reached her section, it was sealed. Nyra's grip tightened. I survived, I said. And for years after, I told myself that caring was the mistake. That if I stayed small, stayed invisible, nothing else could be taken from me. I met her gaze. It didn't work. The silence stretched. I stayed, I said softly. Even after you told me what it would cost. Even after tonight. Not because I don't understand the risk. I squeezed her hand. But because for the first time in my life, the risk feels honest. She studied my face as if memorizing it. They will not stop, she said. The Directorate will adapt. They will move quietly now. You will never be safe. I've never been safe, I replied. I've just been ignored. A corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. You could still leave, she said. I could arrange passage. Disappear you. Protect you that way. And you? I asked. Her expression hardened. I would endure. I shook my head. That's not protection. That's another cage. Her bioluminescence shifted. Subtle hues I'd learned to recognize as conflict, fear, something close to hope. You are choosing this, she said slowly. Yes. Knowing what I am capable of. Yes. Knowing what they will do to you if they succeed. Yes. She leaned forward until her forehead rested against mine. A Valoran gesture I now understood as absolute trust. I have been alone for a very long time, she whispered. I know, I said. I was too. We stayed like that for a long moment, breathing in sync, the weight of empires pressing against a fragile, stubborn choice. Finally, she pulled back, resolve settling over her features like armor, lighter than the war suit, but far stronger. The binding ceremony proceeds, she said. I nodded. Good. They will try to stop it. Let them try. Her eyes gleamed, not with fury this time, but with something steadier. If they move again, she said quietly, I will not bluff. I met her gaze, heart pounding, fear and purpose tangled together. I know, I said, and for the first time since I'd arrived on Lyr-Vaal, I wasn't waiting to be sacrificed. I was choosing to stand. The Hall of Binding was full before we arrived. Every tier overflowed with nobles, observers, envoys, and silent emissaries from systems that pretended neutrality while calculating outcomes. Above us, holographic sigils of ancient Valoran rulers rotated slowly, watching, a reminder that this ceremony existed long before the Directorate ever learned how to hide behind procedure. Nyra walked beside me, her posture steady, her light calm and controlled. I could feel the tension in her hand where it clasped mine, not fear, but focus. The kind that comes before a decisive cut. At the entrance to the hall, the assassins waited. Bound, damped, displayed. Above them hovered the evidence, unaltered records, neural signatures, command chains traced directly back to Directorate members who now sat rigidly in their elevated seats. Nyra hadn't announced it. She hadn't threatened. She'd simply let the truth arrive first. We stepped onto the central platform. The murmurs died. Nyra turned to the assembly. This human is not my possession, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly. He is not a symbol, nor a provocation. She looked at me. He is my equal. The word hit the room like a shockwave. Valoran society did not recognize equals, only ranks. I saw fear ripple across the Directorate's faces as the ancient sigils above us flared in response, systems older than their authority acknowledging her claim. I bind by choice, Nyra continued, as permitted by the First Codex, as sovereign, as myself. No one challenged her, because no one could. When it was my turn, I hadn't planned to speak, but the silence demanded something honest. I was sent here to be expendable, I said, because no one would miss me. I met the eyes of the counselors who had signed off on that decision. They were wrong. I turned back to Nyra. You saw me when it would have been easier not to, and when you told me what it would cost. I stayed. I took her hands. Not because I'm fearless, I said, but because for once, the risk is worth it. The officiant spoke the final words. Light surged. The sigils locked into place. The bond was sealed. For a long heartbeat, nothing happened. Then data cascaded across the hall, broadcast beyond it. racing through relays and systems across the Valorant sphere. Proof. Names. Orders. Crimes buried for decades, now impossible to deny. The Directorate tried to stand. No one followed. Somewhere, alarms began to sound. Not here, but across the Empire. Worlds choosing sides. Fleets hesitating. People realizing the throne had never been as powerless as they were told. Naira squeezed my hand once. "This began as a gamble," she said softly. I smiled, despite everything. "The biggest one in galactic history." Her gaze hardened, not cruel, but absolute. "If anyone tries to take you from me," she said, not loudly, not theatrically, "I will keep my promise." I believed her, but as she leaned into me, as the hall erupted into chaos and possibility, I understood something else. For the first time, the fate of civilizations wasn't being decided by fear or tradition. It was being held, carefully, dangerously, by two people who refused to be disposable. And whatever came next, we would face it together. Write in the comments whether this story impressed you. If so, write at what point. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. If you want to listen to more such stories, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. You have nothing to lose, and you can change it at any time. Good luck. See you in the next video.